Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Because of the timings, because the overtime actually starts around 1:48. So for the next few weeks, as the time shifts, what we'll do is I'll start at 1:45 with the talk. I'll end at 2:13, so a couple of minutes before, and then brother will give the first adhan, and then sunnah, and then the regular, inshallah. But guess we'll go ahead and get started. نحمده ونصلي على رسول النبي الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قال الله تعالى في شان حبيبي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليك صلاة وسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. Today is the 26th of the Hajj, and last Friday, was the 19th, of course, and we spoke about some of the events of the 18th, basically about the declaration of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at Ghadir al-Khum after the Hajj, when he says, Man kuntu mawla fahada aliyah mawla. That for whomsoever I am his mawla, Ali is also his mawla. And we went into details on that, or some details, of course, and we barely scratched the surface. And we also spoke about the martyrdom of Sayyidina Uthman, which also took place on the 18th of Dhul Hajj. We will start talking about Sayyidina Imam Husain AS today, but before I get into that, as I said, being the 26th, so tomorrow is the 27th of Dhul Hajj, which is the day that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu was attacked, and a couple of days after that is when he finally passed. When we look at the martyrdom of Umar and the life of Umar radiallahu anhu, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that there is a door, and so long as that door is kept closed, no fitna will enter this ummah. And the companions, they said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will that door be opened or will it be broken? And he said that that door will be broken. So they understood that the one who is that door, the manifestation of that door, will be martyred. And that door, of course, is Umar radiallahu anhu. When we look at the connection of Sayyidina Umar to Ahlul Bayt, his attitude and his love for Ahlul Bayt. We know the famous saying of Umar where he said that لولا علي فهلك Umar, that if Ali did not exist, Umar would have been destroyed. with Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajh, during the Khilafah of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he acted in the position of Chief Justice, even though there was no official title or position of Chief Justice, but that is his position. During the Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anhu, there was the official position of Chief Justice, and Ali radiallahu anhu is the one who was placed in that position. And when we look at Islam, Khilafah is service. The Khalifa is the servant of the people, to make sure that their rights are fulfilled, and also to make sure that they fulfill the rights of Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, and in Khilafah, the Khalifa cannot call the Chief Justice into his court, but the Chief Justice can call the Khalifa into his court. And this is why Umar radiallahu anhu, he made this statement, that if Ali did not exist, Umar would have been destroyed, because there are certain decisions that he had made, mainly two, which Ali radiallahu anhu caught him on and overturned. And Umar radiallahu anhu was very appreciative of what Ali had done for him. And whenever any difficulty came, when there was an issue, he would always turn to Ali. And this is also why he would make a dua that, "Oh Allah, do not allow me to see the day when there is an Umar, but there is no Ali." Him being that door, Umar radiallahu anhu being that door that kept the fitna out, is also the reason that Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajh did not allow him to go and fight in Iraq. When the expeditions, when the armies were being sent to Iraq, Umar radiallahu anhu wanted to go. And Ali radiallahu anhu said, "No, you can't go. Because if something happens to you, if you are martyred in these battles, then who will take care of Islam?" For those who think that there is an issue between the two of them, it's very interesting. When Umar radiallahu anhu, when he traveled from Medina Munawwara all the way to Jerusalem, because the people of Jerusalem had said that we will only give the key to the city, we will only surrender the city to the leader of the Muslims. Umar radiallahu anhu, he made that journey by himself and his servant. That was just two people, just the two of them, traveling alone in the desert. No bodyguards, no entourage, nobody, just the two of them. When he left Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu in charge of Medina Munawwara, which literally meant that he left Sayyidina Ali in charge of the whole Muslim empire. Because any questions that came, any issues that came, he's the one who dealt with it. It wasn't like, they could call Umar radiallahu anhu on the way, we have this problem, what can we do? He's gone. He's out of the loop. If there was an issue between the two of them, first Umar radiallahu would not have left Ali radiallahu in charge. And this would have been prime time, if Ali radiallahu wanted to create a coup. But there was no issue between them other than the issue of love and affection. When we look at Umar radiallahu anhu's attitude toward Imam Hassan and Imam Husain AS, again, nothing but love and affection. To the extent that whenever Bayt al-Mal would come, he would give it to them first before he would give it to anyone else. Like Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu before him had said that I love to do good to the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than I love to do good to my own household. And as far as we say now, Umar radiallahu anhu, when this was, because of this, him giving the Bayt al-Mal first to Imam Hassan and Imam Husain al-Islam before anyone else, including his own children, his own sons asked him, why do you do this? And most people quote only part of his response. His response to his sons was that you bring a father like the father of Hassan and Hussein, and you bring a mother like the mother of Hassan and Hussein, and you bring a grandfather like the grandfather of Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, and you bring a grandmother like the grandmother of Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, then I'll give to you first. Many people, when they mention this, they don't mention the first part. They only mention the grandfather and the grandmother. Because of course the grandfather is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the grandmother is the Khadija al-Kubra radiallahu anha. But the father is Sayyidina Ali, and the mother is the Fatima salamullah alayha. So now coming to Imam Husain alayhi salam. When you talk about somebody, when you listen about somebody, when we talk about somebody, it's important to understand their position and status. When you look at what somebody does or what somebody says, there's a direct correlation between the significance of their doing and saying as to their own significance. And we see this, but we ignore this a lot. Even in the worldly sense, if somebody's talking about something medical and he has no medical background, then what he says has very little weight. But if somebody has a medical background and he talks about this, then it has some weight. The same way, if you get like an engineer talking about medicine, it doesn't mean much. Or you get a doctor talking about engineering, it doesn't mean much because they have no connection, and in that field there is no significance. But in the deen, this is at a totally different level. When we talk about the Quran, why, when you talk to a Muslim about the Quran, should, the expectation there is that he should be very attentive and he should listen and obey whatever is said. Why is the Quran so significant? You can get the same wording in some other book. and I say, okay, I'm quoting from such and such book, it doesn't mean much. But if I say that this is from the Quran, now it means something very different. Why? Because this is Kalamullah. This is the word of Allah. And is his position over all of creation. So his word is above all of creation. The same way when we talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, something that he does, something that he said. Why to the believer should that have some special place? You know, you can have somebody else doing something similar, but it doesn't mean anything. But when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam does something or says something, again, totally different level. Why? Because he is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is Habibullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why even if he says something compared to some other prophet saying something, it means something totally different, because no other prophet is Habibullah. And the status and position of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam above all of creation So in the same way, what he does and what he says, the importance and significance of that over all of the rest of creation. And this is a point that we will come back to as we continue, talking about this subject. So we have to keep that in mind when we talk about Imam Husain AS, what he did. Most people don't talk about what he said, but what he did, at least. I mean, even what he said, because most people don't even know what he said. Unfortunately, most people these days don't even care what he did. And you start talking about him, and suddenly you get labeled, you're Shia. No. Imam Husain AS is the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is not just the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is a part of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before he's born, the aunt of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Fadl radiallahu anha, when she sees this dream, and the next day she comes running to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She says, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I saw this dream and it's upset me very much." So he says, "What did you see?" And she says that I saw that a piece of you was cut off and it landed in my lap. And he says to her, this is not a bad dream, this is a good dream. You're being given the glad tidings that a son will be born in the house of Fatima. And you will be the first to hold him. And so when Imam Husain AS is born, she is the midwife, she is there, and she is the first to hold him. And while she is still holding him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam enters the house. And he says to her, he says, "Give me my son." And she says, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I have not cleaned him yet. And he says that, do you think that the water of this world can clean him? He is already pure. Again, he is part of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The water that touched Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not purify Rasulullah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was already pure. But the water that touched him gained status and honor and became truly pure. This is why when he would make wudu, when we make wudu, the water that leaves us becomes impure. Because our sins are being washed away. When he would make wudu, what would the companions do? They would rush to take that water and rub their faces. And whoever didn't get any would touch the hands of the one who did. And it's interesting, we think water purifies. Water doesn't purify. Water simply removes the filth from something that's already pure. The mu'min is pure. The problem is sometimes we get filth on ourselves. So that water removes that filth. If water purified, then when the dog becomes wet, it should be clean. But if you touch the dry dog, it's not an issue. But when the dog is wet, it's impure. The real thing that purifies is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When you take the name of the beloved of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with love, acknowledging him as the messenger of Allah, that is what purifies us. A disbeliever, he can bathe all he wants. We know what surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Tawbah about being najis. But as soon as that disbeliever accepts La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, now he becomes pure. So Imam Husain AS, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says he's already pure. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Surah Ahzab, verse 33. So Surah number 33, verse number 33, the last half of the verse, specifically for Ahlul Bayt, specifically for Ahlul Bayt that are underneath the cloak, that were taken underneath the cloak, which means whom? Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein, alayhimus salam. And the hadiths are very clear on that. So this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is referring to. He's already pure. The water of this world cannot purify him. Whatever touches him becomes pure. He is amongst the purifiers. is the leader of the youth of Jannah. Sayyid al-Shabab al-Ahl al-Jannah. And these are points that I'm going to keep coming back to. This is not, these statements that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has made about Imam Husain and Imam Husain AS, these are not simply a grandfather loving on his grandchildren. There is nothing that comes from the lips of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam except what is revelation, exactly as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants him to say it. And not just wants him to say it, exactly as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves for him to say. And when he's certifying this position and title of Imam Husain al-Islam, who are we to question it? He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for Imam Husain and Imam Husain alayhi salam, Allahumma inni uhibbuhu fa'ahibbahu fa'ahbib man yuhibbuhu. That, oh Allah, I love him, so you love him, and love those who love him. Hadith in Tirmizi. And it's interesting that, anyone who praises Ahlul Bayt suddenly gets labeled as Shia. So you have like Imam Hakim, who compiled Mustadrak. Because there's so many hadiths in there in regards to Ahlul Bayt, he's Shia. Imam Abu Hanifa also accused of being Shia. Imam Malik, Shia. Imam Shafi, Rafzi, not just Shia, Rafzi. Which is why he said that if loving Ahlul Bayt means that I am Rafzi, then I'm the biggest Rafzi. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, same thing. All of them. If someone's not accused of being Shia, then you question whether his love for Ahlul Bayt is adequate or not. Imam Tirmizi also, the modern day scholars, he's Shia. Why? Because he narrates this hadith in which the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, whoever loves me and loves Al-Hasan and Al-Husayn and loves their parent and loves their father and loves their mother, they will be with us in Jannah. This doesn't mean that they will be in Jannah somewhere. It means that they will be with them in Jannah. And what a better place in Jannah than with the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'll end here today. We'll continue with Imam Husain al-Islam next week, inshallah. And for the next few weeks. These are people whose love is not an option, it's an obligation. Our good in this life, but we can think that we get by without it, even though in reality we can't. But in the next life, for those who don't have that, there is nothing for them. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who love Ahlul Bayt as they should be loved, and love those who Ahlul Bayt love, which are the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May He give us His true love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us His true love and the true love of His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the family and his companions and all of those whom they love. So I'm going to end here. As I said earlier, we'll next few weeks I'll end a little early so we can make the first adhan. because time really doesn't start till about 1:48 or so. And I start talking around 1:45. So we'll make the first adhan and then make sunnah and then we'll